Hi guys, welcome to my newest video for today. For today's video I'm going to be doing my movie and TV show wrap up for March 2022. I didn't actually watch that many movies and TV shows in March compared to February, but I got through a few. There's a bit of a theme with most of them, so yeah, because I kind of had a bit of a obsession with a particular franchise in the month of March, so that accounts for half of my movie viewings, basically. But I'm going to do similar format to like how I did it with my last wrap up. I'm going to do TV shows, then movies I don't own, and then what I watch out of my collection. I didn't actually watch any new to me movies via streaming in March, but I did actually watch a few movies that I own that I did happen to watch on streaming services because I was away in Sydney for a few days and I could stream onto the hotel's TV room, and I decided to do that for a few movies. Even though I do own the physical copy, I actually watched the movie via streaming, but I'll briefly talk about those movies when I get to that. But yeah, so anyway, I'm going to get straight into it and start with the TV shows. The TV show that I finished out of my physical collection, I watched Red Dwarf Series 3. I am really behind on my Red Dwarf rewatch because I try to do one every couple of years, but I've kind of been all over the place with TV shows and like trying to watch new ones and rewatch old ones, and yeah, and I wanted to rewatch Red Dwarf, but I haven't made much progress with it yet. So I did rewatch Series 3. I still love the early seasons of Red Dwarf, and yeah, it's just a lot of fun, especially once Crichton gets added into the mix as a full-time crew member. But yeah, so I did watch Red Dwarf Series 3. I mean, they're very easy shows to binge, because there's only most of them only have 6 episodes and they're half hour, so you can knock it out pretty quickly. It's just a matter of sitting down and watching them. But yes, I did watch Series 3 of Red Dwarf. And then the other show that I finished in March was the Book of Boba Fett. I was really behind on this show because I wasn't watching week to week, and then I happened to binge a bunch of episodes at once, so that's sort of how I managed to finally wrap it up in March. But overall I did enjoy this show. I would have actually liked to have seen, I think, more backstory with Boba Fett rather than sort of have half the season be about him and then the other half be about the Mandalorian, even though I love seeing the Mandalorian and Grogu and all of that again, and I loved Grogu training with Luke and all of that, but yeah, I just would have liked to have seen a bit more from, the title of the series was The Book of Boba Fett, so I would be interested to see more. I don't know if they're planning on just jumping into season 3 or if there's going to be another I guess side chapter, but yeah, I'd be interested still more to check out more from this particular series. So I did finally finish Book of Boba Fett. And the other show that I finally finished watching was Legends of Tomorrow Season 7. I ended up binging the last 7 episodes. I really enjoyed I guess Season 7B with the them trying to stay ahead of their evil robot counterparts. But yeah, I'm so behind on all my my weekly shows, it's ridiculous, but I did manage to binge, to catch up and binge with Legends of Tomorrow, and now I'm really sad because it's looking like it might be cancelled. It hasn't gotten I think they're waiting until May, and normally I know the CW tends to renew really quickly, so the fact that they haven't done it this time around with Legends, I'm kind of bracing myself for the fact that it might be cancelled, which yeah considering season 7 left off on a cliffhanger, I would be really upset about that because like, especially because they've introduced Mr. Gold into the show, and I sort of want to see where all of that goes, and the Sarah Ava baby like storyline, the pregnancy, but yeah. I'm fully expecting, the way with my luck with TV shows is I'm expecting it to be cancelled, which I know 7 seasons of a show is still good, but not when the show gets cancelled on a cliffhanger. So, but yes, I did finish season 7, really enjoyed that, so hopefully I'll be able to talk about it season 8, but I'm not holding my breath, so there we go. Those were the TV shows that I managed to finish watching in March. And now for the movies. So the only ones that I watched where like I don't own, like physically own them, were at the cinema, and 3 of them were the same movie. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know I've been a bit obsessed with this movie, and honestly this franchise in general, like for the last couple of years since I discovered the comics, and I've been binging all the comics to do with this particular franchise, and that is the Batman. I watched it 3 times in March. I mean, it helped that there wasn't really much else that I was interested in seeing in March, but yeah. I did go a bit crazy, and so I saw the first viewing, the first 2 viewings were like just at my normal local cinema, and then I had my first 4DX experience. I went to the 4DX at George Street, the Event Cinemas in George Street in Sydney, and that was an experience, I will say, because I'm glad I actually had seen the movie before I had my 4DX experience, because yeah, I was going through this whole thing, and as soon as I realized what it actually was, I was like, oh, this movie is going to give me a heart attack. So yeah, it was, I don't think I could do too many 4DX movies, but it was worth it for the Batman, and you know, chance to see the Batman again, because I loved everything about this movie. It's like 5 out of 5 stars. Currently my favourite movie of the year, which admittedly we're only in March, so it's still too early to tell how the rest of the year will shape up. But yes, I love the cast. I love Robert Pattinson's portrayal of Bruce Wayne, Batman, and maybe controversial opinion, but I think he's my favourite Batman. Which, yeah, I think I'm maybe in the minority for that one, but I don't know, I just really loved it, and I'm really hoping in the future we get more Bat Family content. Like, we'll see him, like, you know, meeting Dick Grayson, like, training Robin, and all of the rest of the Bat Family. Really hope we'll get to see that in this particular, like, I guess, interpretation of the Batman, but I suppose we'll see. I'm assuming there's going to be a sequel, but but yes, I loved the Batman. Probably the quickest 3 hours that I've, like for a movie that's 3 hours, it really didn't feel like 3 hours, and yeah, I just had a blast watching it each time at a cinema. And yeah, and I'm really would like to be able to go again, like maybe at some point this month I can get to it, because obviously in May we'll have Doctor Strange, and yeah, and I still need to see the new Fantastic Beasts movie. I haven't had a chance to catch up on that with that one, but it's in my April like cinema viewing plans. But yes, my main cinema experience in March was the Batman, so those, and then I did end up seeing Morbius at the end of March. Now I know this movie has been very divisive, and I don't know if it's just because I don't really know anything about the comics or the character, but I really enjoyed it. It was just a lot of fun. Like, I went in not really expecting anything, and I think that worked in my favour because I just enjoyed it. It was, yeah, I guess seeing more of an, like, another anti-hero, type character, and then, yeah, and also randomly, I really enjoyed seeing Matt Smith's performance in this. Like, just watching it, you could tell he was having a blast filming this, and yeah, just, he had such crazy energy for, like, film, like, with his character and everything, and yeah, just, it was really an interesting, like, performance, like, as you're so used to seeing, I mean, I know it's been quite a number of years since he was the Doctor, but yeah, it was like the Doctor, but like times 10. That was like that level of energy in the film, and yeah, I'd be interested in seeing a sequel, because I think the plan was to like eventually do a team up, but with, I think, the different, I guess, anti-heroes, villains in the Spider universe. I think that's the plan, but I enjoyed this one. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, so that one. And then the 3 movies that I happened to stream over, like, the few days I was in Sydney. Because I was in Sydney, it felt fitting to rewatch Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie. This movie is my childhood. Like, I love it. It's just, I mean, yes, it's ridiculous and over the top and completely cheesy, but I love it, and I love how much Angel Grove just randomly looks like Sydney, and it's never mentioned again. It's like, I mean, I think it's pretty much thing that it takes place in a different universe than the Power Rangers TV show, but I just get a kick out of seeing different locations in Sydney, and I mean, like, at one point, Ivan Ooze uses Centrepoint Tower as a weapon. It's just, yeah, it's hilarious. And also, one thing I don't think I picked up on before, but when they're at the Queen Victoria building, you can actually see the sign for the Queen Victoria building car park, which I don't know if it was intentional, but because it's like, seems really out of place, like, for a city that's supposed to be in America to have a building called the Queen Victoria building. But I mean, that might just, I don't know, they may have just been filming and it got caught in, but yeah, I picked it up this time watching it, and I was like, oh, I wonder if that's meant to be there. But I mean, obviously the movie's over 20 years old, but just sort of picking up those things. But yeah, and also, obviously, if you happen to watch the film, Sydney doesn't have a monorail anymore. Like, that got dismantled, it was like early 2000s, so that's another thing, like, sort of watching it, and then you're like, oh yeah, the monorail doesn't exist anymore. But yeah, it was just a lot of fun, sort of revisiting Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie. I give it 5 out of 5 stars. Yeah, I know not everyone else will, but I think growing up with Power Rangers is just, I just love this movie, so go. And then I finally continued on with my, because I'm kind of talking about these movies in out of order, but I did watch Star Wars: The Last Jedi via Disney Plus, and I know this film has been very divisive, but I still love it. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just, I just go along with the movie, and then I'm just like, yeah, I still enjoy it. It's, I still love, you know, the Star Wars movies as a whole. As, like, even the sequel things, like, still 5 out of 5 stars for me. I love sort of seeing the older Luke, and then sort of just how jaded he's become, and then, you know, reluctantly training Rey, and yeah, it's, I don't know, I just sort of really like sort of seeing that spin around, especially when you watch The Mandalorian and you sort of see how drastically different he is, like, compared to the end of The Last Jedi. So and I still like Rose as a character. I don't get the hate. It's But then I suppose I'm one of the same people that didn't have an issue with Jar Jar Binks, so maybe it's just me. But yes, I did watch The Last Jedi, and then again out of order, but I watched, well, not really out of order because it's completely different films, but I did watch Batman 1989, obviously by Tim Burton. I still enjoy the 90s Batman films. They're not my favourites of the like the different adaptations, but I do like Michael Keaton as like I like his portrayal as Bruce Wayne, like in Batman, and I sort of like and also like that he has, I don't know, you sort of see more of his relationship with Alfred, which I mean, you sort of see that in the later films, but not so, but yeah, like you sort of see him like trying to separate the two lives a bit more, which I feel like some of the films you either get where he's fully Batman or he's, you know, just Bruce Wayne. It's not a mixture of both, but I do like that there's a bit more of a balance between the two, and even though going back over the first one, it's sort of a bit weird where it's like no one knew about the Wayne murders. It's sort of like in why Bruce Wayne was the way he was. Like you'd think, yeah, it was just sort of such a random plot. Like when you're having the journalists investigate, oh, what's going on, and then you're like, oh yeah, his parents were gunned down in front of him, and you're like, you'd think that would be a bit more, because in all the other different interpretation, like adaptations, everyone knows about the Wayne murders, and in the first film it was like, wait, what happened to the Waynes? And yeah, it's kind of random, I found, but it was, yeah, just really interesting, because it's like, I'm sure in all the other different takes, it's like everyone knows what happened to the Waynes, and it's like this big thing that happened in Gotham, but yeah, but in Gotham 1989, no one knew that his parents were gunned down in front of him, so it's yeah, just very interesting sort of going back and watching the different takes, but yeah, so those were the three movies that I watched that I do own, but I watched via streaming, and then onto the films that I watched out of my own collection. I finally got to see In the Heights, which I missed out at the cinema last year. I found I enjoyed this, but I didn't like it quite as much as Hamilton, because I love Hamilton, and I think maybe I was expecting this to be like Hamilton, which I can sort of, I know this came before Hamilton, but yeah, I think I need to give this another watch. But I liked the music, like the overall story and that, but yeah, it was I still enjoyed it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, but yeah, I think maybe I went into it with like too high expectations, so but yeah, I did finally watch In the Heights. And then this is what I meant about watching things backwards. I watched the Force Awakens, so I finally made progress with the Star Wars franchise rewatch. It's still just as much, like I had an amazing time watching this in the cinema, and even on rewatch I still find it amazing. I just sort of seeing all the characters coming back, and it's like the new generation, and yeah, just seeing the Star Wars story continue, like, you know, many years after Return of the Jedi. So yeah, it was still great, like sort of revisiting the Force Awakens. It's still 5 out of 5 stars, so that one. And then again, Batman. I like when I start watching the live action Batmans, I always love starting with the 66 film, even though obviously they're all different continuities, and yeah, and I don't know, I love the 1960s Batman. Yes, it's very cheesy and again just completely ridiculous, but I just love how serious this is, and like the dialogue that they speak, and it's completely serious. Like when they have the bat shark repellent scene, and then afterwards Penguin's like, how was I supposed to know he was carrying a can of bat shark repellent? Like, it was just like random moments like that, and yeah, it's always great fun revisiting this one, and it's a 5 out of 5 stars for me. It's, yeah, one of my favourites. So that's Batman the movie. And then I had another first time viewing that, like, I watched another blind buy, and that was Lake Placid. I had never seen this movie, even though it's been out for it came out in 99, so over 20 years. But I actually thought this was a pretty decent horror film. It was like, it's very short, but it's like a lot of mystery and suspense into what's happening in this lake, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. So yeah, I'd probably be revisiting this around October. I can see myself sort of having it, like, watching around that time. But yes, it was just like a fun, like, creature horror film. So there you go. And then I had planned to hopefully get to a few more of these, but I've only watched the first one, and I rewatched Resident Evil because I want to rewatch the Resident Evil films so I can watch the new Resident Evil, which I know you don't have to because it's not in the same. I think it's the new one's like a reboot or a prequel, or I'm not too sure how it's. I don't think it's really connected to these films, but I like watching all the live action stuff together, so I did rewatch the first Resident Evil, and it's been a few years since I've seen this one, but I actually think they do a pretty good job, like, setting up the universe in this one, because I've never played the video games, so the films were my introduction to this franchise, and yeah, I think it's like sort of just how they sort of started off the bat, where you don't really know what's going on, and then and the main character doesn't really remember anything, and she's trying to piece it together as well. Like, I've forgotten a lot of those details, but and then who is it? Is it the little girl? I can't remember her name, but I forgot how creepy she was in these movies. But yes, it's actually I quite enjoy the first one, like the first Resident Evil. There's like quite a few decent, like, pretty gruesome kills in this one as well. Like, it's even though it's sort of I guess not quite at the everything's gone to hell part of this world, and like the zombie apocalypse is only just starting, and but I do really like how they ended that one. Like, when it's like she sort of wakes up in the facility, and then it's like, oh, what's going on? But yes, I'm glad I actually did revisit the first Resident Evil, because I forgot how much I did actually quite like these movies. So this one gets 4 out of 5 stars. So I watched Resident Evil 2002. And there we go. That is everything that I watched in March 2022. From the TV shows I finished, the movies I saw at the cinema. I kind of rambled a bit about Batman, but I probably will continue to ramble about Batman, because yeah, I love it. It's completely reignited my, like, not that the obsession really went away, but just sort of because I was anticipating this movie for so long, and now it's like, oh, I finally got like there's a new Batman film, and it's sort of one that I can actually start, because I know even with the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, I didn't see Batman Begins at the cinema because that came out in 2005, and I wasn't really into going into the movies that much back then. But I obviously saw The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises I did see those at the movies, but this is like, oh, and I suppose also like the DC EU Batman, even though you sort of have Batman v Superman and I guess Justice League as well, but sort of starting properly with a new introduction to Batman. But yeah, so it's sort of like the one where I can start, say it was like, oh, I've seen the first one in this series at the cinema. But yeah, so that was just a bit of a random tangent, but anyway, I'm going to stop it here. So thank you guys for watching, and until my next video, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!